All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Course Creator Community Podcast. I'm your host, Jono, and I am super excited because we've got an awesome guest on the line this week. A little bit about this person. She's a career strategist and empowerment coach. She helps women leaders step into their power and go from burnt out to lit up, both in their lives and their careers. And she's an unorthodox thinker, speaker, and author, and now also a course creator. So without further ado, let me introduce Cara Houser. Cara, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. Let's give the listeners a little bit of background. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your course topic?
Wonderful. So my name's Cara. I am a Northern California native. I'm from the city of Richmond, California, and still near there, actually. We've traveled all over the world, but have stayed put in our lovely home base. I created a course, Sabbatical in a Box, which is really based, the reason why I did it is based on my experience from being burned out and getting all the way through that to the other side of lit up and full of ideas and inspiration and zest for life again after it sort of took a short hiatus. So if you want to know how long it took years of getting down into the dumps and then years of figuring out how to get back, and then distilling all that wonderful experience of life in addition to just tons of reading and researching and trying things on my own, and putting all those together into a course to help people do it themselves, hopefully without having to do so much pain and strain along the way.
Yes, love it. Well, let's speak about the actual online course. When did the idea come up? When were you like, hold on, there's a course in this?
So a couple of years, I started putting together a package of services. I decided I was going to move from my background. So my first 20-year career was in housing development. I'm a real estate developer by profession first. And midway through that career, got so burned out, I needed to take a sabbatical, and kind of got back into it, but not as an employee. I opened my own consultancy and did that for 5 years and was able to do the work from a much more empowered capacity and just with a lot more purpose and autonomy. So there was a lot of learning that happened there, but I started to find myself wanting to get away from that and more into what I would call almost my calling level work, which is working with other folks to help them through this, really a kind of a similar journey. I see the epidemic of burnout. I see people feeling just powerless and lost in their work and just feeling completely overwhelmed by all the demands of modern life, especially working women who are also parents. And it's pretty much true of most folks I know, actually, that there's just this sense of losing touch with yourself and your innate power and ability to make good choices for yourself. And you get to a point like I was, where you're so exhausted and so overwhelmed that it's this notion of like even how to start to fix yourself and like what to do next, what to read, what to do, where to go, how to start, just feels stupidly out of reach. It just feels impossible. And what you want is the freaking playbook, or for someone just to help you know, okay, so what's step one? What happens next? So that you don't have to do all planning while you're in the middle of all the muck. And so I started to work with coaching clients first, actually. And then as I was working with people and I was just seeing a lot of folks having some really common issues, I thought, I could put together a course about this and do it in a group cohort format, which would not only share the information, but would offer the double benefit of having a built-in support system and accountability partners along the way. Because a lot of us think a lot of things sound like really cool ideas, and then we start doing them, and then no one's checking, and so we just get back to our old ways of being, which often involve spending time going down the tech sinkhole and doing a bunch of crap that everyone else wants us to do before we take care of ourselves.
Yes, gotcha. So let me go deeper into some of that. You kind of went coaching clients first and then group cohort. And is your course now, is it still a group cohort course, or is there an on-demand version, or how does that kind of work?
So It's actually available in a couple of different formats. I still run it as a group cohort where we meet once a week on Zoom, and I lead I facilitate
Yep.
the session, and we go over we have materials that we share, and then there's discussion and sharing and journaling, and kind of everything happens right then and there. And I try not to give people a whole bunch of homework, because the whole point is that no one has time for anything.
Good
But
point.
do it together, and then have simple, very doable, few minutes a day habits to try to build into our lives. But before we add new stuff, we get rid of old stuff. So the beginning of the course is dumping old stuff. First, we learn about what burnout is. Then we figure out how we can make time. And then we start backfilling with things that actually serve us and are useful. And the last part of it is actually making those things that are useful, cement them in so that they're actually part of our lifestyle. It's not just like we took this cute little break and now we're back to hell. Like, we're actually living a much more aligned life with the kind of person and the kind that we want to be, the things that are most important to us.
Gotcha. So there's so there's kind of the two versions, right? You've got the group cohort, and you say you've got an on-demand as well.
Yeah, so that one's under construction, and
Gotcha.
the on-demand one is going to it'll be a video format.
Yep.
And I'm also going to have optional, I think it's probably going to be once a month, optional call-ins where folks can come into a group call if they want, but that's more of a kind of a free form discussion, just support system.
Yeah.
They can go through everything in the order that it needs to go in on the video course.
Yeah.
And then they'll have access also just to a library of materials. One of the things that I offer to folks is that they don't have to read and try every single thing under the sun. I've got everything, kind of all the things, the best practices that work the best, all gathered for folks, so they can just go in, pick what works best for them. They've got it sort of summarized as to why it's useful, and then they can start building in the pieces that they like the best, that make sense, the most sense to them. So yeah, that one's coming in the fall. It's not released yet. And then the third kind of way that this is coming at people is I'm writing a book about it, which will be completely self-paced, which people can try and do. But it'll essentially, it's inspired by the course and all that material, so it lets people walk themselves through it. And then it provides all the journaling prompts and kind of all that scaffolding around it, so they can actually go through the program themselves too. Yeah.
Love it. Are you comfortable to speak about pricing? Like, how much is the group coaching? How much will the on-demand be? How much, so the listeners can get an idea of the tier?
Sure. So for the live group program, it's currently priced at $12.97, and the program is currently 7 weeks. I've experimented with different time frames. It was 12, it was 6, now it's 7. Like anything in life, I feel like we just keep growing and improving and tweaking, making things better based on what we've learned works best for the people that we serve. That I get feedback from people to tell me what they feel was most useful for them and how, and I incorporate that into the next iteration. So the guts of it are pretty similar to what it was in the beginning, but the way that it's kind of paced and provided for people, the idea is that it's just the absolute most convenient / inspiring way for them to build into their lives. So yeah, that one's 7 weeks. And then the online one will be 2. The book's going to take everyone through actually like an 11 chapter. So they probably would do that one a week.
Yep.
Way of doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then what about the tech stack? You mentioned the live course is on Zoom. Is there also like an LMS or an online course platform that they can watch the replays, or there's other resources? And if so, which one?
So for now, I actually just keep everything in a Google Drive for them.
Nice.
And then they can access everything that way. I do have a page on my website too that's just for clients, that they can go in and find all the resources organized there. And then for the self-paced one, that one's going to be in Thinkific.
Gotcha. I love even Google Drive, because it's like, and I know a lot of the LMSs are really good and easy these days, But even Google Drive, it's kind of like you can do one of some of the best courses I've ever done have just been Google Drive. Week one, open, watch the video. Week two, open, watch the video. And then here's the
Right.
resources there. So I love that. I think that's a good message for the listeners out there. It's not
Very
about the
simple.
platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love it.
Well, it's easy, and as long as you help kind of nudge people along, like here's what we're doing
Yeah.
now. So I know when I sign up for courses, I don't want to just be like, what am I supposed to do? Like I want to kind of be just gently guided, like a river guide through the whole process.
Yep, 100%. Now, I love that journey there, Cara, because what I've found with a lot of course create, that's a common model for success is like, first I'll do the one-on-one stuff because it's kind of like the easiest, no, I shouldn't say the easy. Well, yeah, it's the best way to help people early on because you can give them that one-on-one and you can get really good at like, right, I've done this 100 times now. I can see patterns. Now let me do it as a group side of things. Hey, people, this is what 90% is with people. And let me do those little 10% with you on the group now. And then, all right, now I've got even more experience from this group stuff. Now it can be 100% on demand. So I love that there. A couple questions in regards to the marketing. It sounds like even just initially, how did you get these clients initially? The one-on-one people initially?
Yes. So this probably is similar to a lot of folks just starting out. It is the unsexy sexiness of just reaching out to people that
Yeah.
a lot or a little,
Yeah.
and just kind of really just connecting with them and checking in and catching up and seeing what's going on with them and what it is that they're struggling with. And once you kind of share those stories, you can kind of start getting a sense of whether it would be a fit, whether some of the things that you're working on would actually be useful for them, and then start talking about it. So really the first several clients, the first huge handful of clients I got was really just talking with folks that from my network in some way, or just folks recommending me to a friend of theirs. So that sort of ongoing network effect. And then as I've worked with folks and they felt like it's been successful and helpful to them, they've been lovely enough to write testimonials, and then I've shared those out, and then people who I don't know as well can then read that and think, oh, okay, well, this seems like something that could work for me too. As far as social, I'm mostly on LinkedIn and interact with people there, a little bit on Instagram, and then I have a weekly newsletter that people can subscribe to from my website. And that just keeps us in touch. And, I provide as useful and actionable information as I possibly can every week to people that way too.
Love it. So yeah, I think that's great. And there's a couple questions there. When you say you'd reached out to people in your network, was that via LinkedIn or was that in person, text message, Facebook? Like, what was was it just posting on your LinkedIn and people would see that? When you say you're reaching out to people, what did that kind of look like? All of the
Yes,
above, everything.
all of the above. And for me, it's pretty heavily on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was already a kind of a LinkedIn user before in my real estate life.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I would post things and sometimes folks would like it or they would interact in some way. And in that way, I would know that it was of interest to them. And I would also just direct message people that I knew.
Yeah.
And really just kind of try to do catch ups with them.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to catch up with people anyway. Because when I first got started, it was like maybe a year and a half ago. And COVID was kind of going away, but it wasn't totally gone. I mean, it was still kind of there. So not everybody was still super into in-person stuff.
Yeah.
So setting up Zooms and hanging out that way, it's also just easy from a time standpoint. Most people can squish in a 20-minute check-in and chat if they want to.
Yeah. I think that's great. It's similar to so my background's in fitness, and it's similar in the online fitness world where a lot of the time as fitness trainers wanting to go online can often think, oh, I need this great app and this great website and this Instagram or TikTok with millions of followers. But often one of the best ways to get clients, especially something like fitness and your topic as well, it's kind of like things that everyone kind of needs in a way, like if you reach out to nine people, in the everyday world. Like, reach out to 10 people, 9 of them are going to be like, you know what? I wish I was fitter and healthier, or, I
Sure.
wish I had more time or was less burnt out. So a lot of the
Yeah.
time, that's just a great strategy there. And I think the message for the people listening, there's a couple important messages there. Cara already had a bit of a network. And I think that's important. Like, if you're going to launch a course, you kind of got to have something. You can't just put it on a website and hope that people are going to magically find it and
Right.
do it.
Right.
Cara, because of what she did, already had that network. And it was probably somewhat specific to what you did as well, because the people that you would have connected with in LinkedIn in your previous workplace are probably like your ideal clients as well. But I feel that's similar for most people listening, right? So I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
message where it's like you need to build a following somewhere, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. There's got to be some sort of following there. But then also the
Right.
reach out. It's not just, all right, let me go and build my following. Hey, how can I convert these followers into paying clients or customers? And that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially my next question. So you would essentially, you'd be on LinkedIn, networking, posting, sending out some DMs or private messages. That would lead to a Zoom call, and that Zoom
Mm-hmm.
call sounds like it was a catch up. Was there like maybe a sell at the end of that Zoom call, or was it like a soft sell? Hey, I've actually got this thing. If you're interested, we can book another call and do it. What did that sales process kind of look like?
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's very much dependent on who I'm talking to and where. If it really doesn't seem like it's a fit for that person, like it's just not something that's a challenge they're working on right now,
Yep.
and or maybe we just aren't sort of vibe. Maybe it really just requires a lot of, I guess, intuitive paying attention.
Yeah.
If the person seems like they would be open and it would be something that would actually benefit them, I'll absolutely, towards the end of the call, talk about it, and then kind of ask them what they think and have a little bit of a mini Q&A about it.
Yep.
A lot of the early conversations were super instructive because the kind of things that people ask, or maybe what some of their concerns are, or they're just like curiosities or puzzlements, are just super useful,
Yeah.
because then I know, oh, well, maybe this isn't as clear as it could be. Or, oh, I haven't thought about that. People really want to talk more about this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of learning that happens with that. But yes, towards
100%.
the end of it, absolutely, I would definitely offer it to them and then follow up
Yeah.
with
Love it.
a link to, okay, so here's the site about it. And then on my landing page for the course, it gives a bit of information. And so I would send them that and then just follow up in like a couple of weeks and see what they're, and if they have any questions that I can help them with.
Awesome. Yes, love it. So I think that's great for a couple different things. You mentioned just information. I feel the best way for any new course creator to start off is essentially sales calls. Like, that's pretty much what they were, right? Sale, in a way, they're sales
Sure.
calls. And even if the sale isn't made at the end, there's just so much learning done in terms of, I need to put this in the course, or I need to put this. Oh, that's what people want. I better put that on the landing page of the website to make sure that people want it. So I think that's great there. And yeah, the follow-up as well, for sure. So, and that's still today. Obviously, that's what you would have done with the one-on-one clients. I'm guessing the cohort as well. Is any of it either automated now, where people just go to the website and buy, or they opt into something and there's an email chain, or is everything still pretty much Zoom call sales?
People can absolutely go straight to the website, either on LinkedIn or Instagram. I will put time to time. I mean, I think one thing I learned really early on is that, once you've decided to do a new thing, doesn't the whole rest of the world just care so much about that? You can't just talk about it. You got to still talk about what's useful to other people,
Yeah.
which is kind of the whole point. So from time to time, I don't know, maybe twice a month, I'll talk about it. I'll put a link and I'll put like a testimonial about it and how it's been useful to other people. People can go straight to the website and book it themselves. Yes, absolutely, they can.
Do many do it? Like, of your percentage wise, how many would you say are via a Zoom call sale, and how many are just, purchased without the call?
Most people need to talk to you for something like that.
Gotcha.
Because of the price point.
Yeah.
I think, if it were a smaller thing that they're signing up for, then I think would be more likely for folks to do it kind of sight unseen to you.
Yeah.
But if they're going to spend 500, $1,000, they
Yeah.
need to know a little bit more. They need to feel comfortable
Yeah.
with you. And so some sort of outreach. I have had a couple folks who have gone straight and signed up after, say, a talk I've given. Oh, that's the other thing. Sometimes I'll do guest speaking
Yeah.
for professional organizations or um well, yeah, usually professional like networking groups or just
Yeah.
like in women's engineering groups, for example.
Yeah.
So I'll do like I'll be like their monthly speaker,
Yeah.
and we'll do, say, like it's like a Zoom lunch and learn for their membership.
Yeah.
And I'll do a presentation to their folks, which will be sort of like a mini version of what we talk about, just to give people a sense of what goes on with an activity that they can do right then and get us and hopefully get something useful out of it right off the bat. And then all the links are sent by the host. So I have had some folks sign up just from that,
Yeah.
and it's not really even a one-on-one interaction. It's
Mm.
more of a larger group, kind of a Zoom presentation with some Q&A.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
that's another, I think, really good thing to do, is to find groups that whose message you would benefit, and then just offer to come and talk with them.
100%. In terms of the 7-week program at the moment, is it a set start date? Is it like, hey, here's when the next 7 week starts, you got to join here? Or is it like a rolling kind of thing? How does that work?
Yes, so the next one is going to start in September, and I haven't put the date up yet, but it'll probably be right after Memorial Day, or sorry, Labor Day weekend. That fall is a super great time to start anything. We've all still are used to going, starting school or whatever, and we still
Mm.
have a sense of our head, like we're gonna do something fresh and new, and summer's over. Well, I guess not for you in Australia. It's
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, I'm like, fall? Like, what's
I'm
fall?
like,
And
ooh.
I'm like, Memorial? What's Memorial
Sorry,
Day?
it's all opposite. So Labor Day in America is in September, which is our fall,
Okay.
and that's when our school
Autumn. So
starts,
for the
and it's when our
Australians, that's
summer's
autumn.
over.
That's autumn she's talking about.
Autumn,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
autumn,
exactly. Yeah. Which is our spring.
which is your spring, exactly.
Oh, so
So folks come in and they'll, their summer's over, they're ready to hit the books, sort of in a fun way, ready to learn something new, and then it's all done before the holiday season comes.
gotcha. And you
Because
so
no one wants to be doing this stuff during like Thanksgiving, Christmas time. It's way
yeah,
too easy.
it's exactly like fitness. Okay, so is it one a year? You essentially launch one a year, or do you have semesters, or what does that look like?
Yeah, 2 to 3 times a year. Last
Gotcha.
year, I did just a fall and a spring.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's probably the cadence I'm going to land into, because
Yep.
that's how I'm planning to do it again this year. So a fall and a spring. So starting in September and I started the other one in February, I think. So February, March, and then September, October. And yes, it is a set time because we're all together. And
Yeah.
depending on, how many folks I have, that'll determine how many cohorts there are.
Yeah.
So as far as group size, I like to keep it no bigger than 8,
Gotcha.
because that is, any bigger than that, it's really hard to give people a chance to actually contribute and
Yeah.
participate in a way that feels meaningful.
Yep. Agree.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right. Well, Cara, you're a mentor for plenty of women out there. I'd love to hear who your biggest mentors are, ideally in the course creation kind of space. And if you could answer this in a few different ways, if you could give us a paid mentor, so maybe someone that you paid money and you did their course or their membership, and they showed you how to set up a course. An
Mhm.
unpaid mentor, someone that you haven't paid, but you follow their stuff on social media or you listen to their podcast and you're like, oh, it's a good idea. I'm going to, implement that in my marketing or my delivery. And a book. I can see you got a pretty decent bookshelf there from what I can see back there. Is that a bookshelf? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, there we go. It's a lot bigger than I even thought. And a book that you recommend every course creator should read. So mentors, paid, unpaid, and book.
Okay, so I guess let's start with book. And that's really hard because I could go on and on. But
Yeah.
one book, and this is not a book specifically about course creation, but I do feel like it's a foundational topic that every single human being needs to practice if they're going to do anything. And the book is called Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's kind of a classic now, it's been around a while, and it's all about she's the kind of the inventors of growth versus fixed mindset. She's the researcher. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not, no.
Okay. So, growth mindset, in a very small nutshell, essentially is a way of approaching things in the world that says we can always learn and grow. Life is just basically one big experiment. And to the extent that we can roll with the punches, learn what we can, keep going, and knowing that we can always improve over time, and that one failure doesn't all over, we need to go and like in the sand, and that's that. To the extent that we can function from that foundation, we are just going to go a whole lot further in this world. An example of a fixed mindset sort of person is a person who's just really set on status. They don't want to take any risks. They really can't grow too much because they have to know it all the time. It's very hard for someone who's functioning in fixed mindset to be flexible, which if you're any kind of entrepreneur whatsoever, you better be ready to be flexible night and day, because you're going to try things and they're not going to work as hoped. You're going to need to flex. You're going to need to say, oh, I thought my customers would love this. This is not that useful to them as I hoped. And so now we're going to try that. And you kind of just keep developing along the way and evolving. And that's a medium-sized nutshell of what that's all about.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the book?
That's the book. I've done a few professional development things along the way just in the last couple years in service of this of my career move right now. One of them is there's a really extremely talented woman named Carol Cox, and she has a company called Speaking Your Brand. Ooh. And it's all about public speaking for women. So she does this very cool, it's kind of like a quarter long, maybe I think it's about 12-week course. It's not about course creation specifically, but it is about getting your messaging really tight, and who you are, who you're talking to, what is the point of what you're trying to share with them. And this all needs to be really tight before you ever offer a course, because you need to know who your client is and what you have to offer. And so that I thought was super useful, and that was helpful too in putting together these talks, to some of the talks that I give, which some of them really are for finding new clients. So she has these different sorts of talks. She'll do like a talk and a biz dev talk, and help you with the framework of figuring out how to be effective. So that was good. And then personal, like a career coach that I worked with for around a year. Her name is Jessie Patterson. And she is creating courses of her own too. And so like around time management and how to make tech work for you. And she's a transformational coach. And so she's just really helpful in helping people get through all sorts of blocks they need to do their next thing. So again, I didn't hire her specifically for that, but she was absolutely helpful in helping me build it.
Love it. Great tips there. Awesome. All right. Well, Cara, that's pretty much all I wanted to get through today. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people listening to this and they're like, all right, this woman is cool. I think I want to take her course. So where do we go to follow you?
My website, carahouser.com, CARAHOUSER. All my courses and coaching offerings are there. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter called Dear Glinda, Career Advice and Inspiration for Powerful Souls Like You. And it's inspired by Glinda the Good Witch. And you might already know this, but she said, you've always had the power, you've had it all along. And essentially it's about helping people find their innate power, which has always been there, to kind of freshen their perspective and help them tackle the challenges in their life in a new way, and help them get out of burnout and into full-bodied living. And then the other one is on LinkedIn, and I'm on there a lot, and I would love to interact with you. So you can just find my name there. I post a lot, and again, I learn so much from folks that I'm connected with. So I'd love to learn from your audience too.
Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. All right, Cara, is there anything I should have asked you but forgot to, or anything you wanted to finish us off with?
I don't think so. I really appreciate you inviting me and your time. Thanks so much.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for your time, Cara.
Thank you.